call your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.
Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of The Mediator with me, your host, Brian West, here to give you the top 8 headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Now, as usual, I'll give you the top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that made it first, followed by a movie clip, a skit, a trailer, or something that's going on in the community, or maybe some pictures. And then I'll give you the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made it, folks. So let's waste no time. Oh, yeah. Let's get to it. Story number 1. Youngstown is still in the fight to reduce crime. Shell gas station on Market Street has seen its fair share of news lately. Now, this is after a woman was shot at while at the gas station. Now, this is not the first time that this gas station has reported gunfire or violent incidents occurring on the property. The story made it in because Youngstown is still in a fight to reduce crime, and a city still searching for its old and new identity. That's why story number 1 made it this week. Story number 2. The local drug problems cannot go unnoticed. What a lot of people fail to report on behind the scenes is the fact that Ohio still has a drug problem, and locally it's still a problem, and a lot of people have been affected financially, emotionally, and physically. Now, people have literally been brought to their knees with bodies piling up from overdoses and etc. Now, this story is staying alive because more drug stories continue to make headlines, and the more they continue to make headlines, the more this story does not seem to be going away anytime soon. That's why story number 2 made it this week. Story number 3. YSU gets another grant. The CDC has given Youngstown State University more than $719,000. YSU will use the funding to implement the Gwen Fit program, or a family healthy weight program, which will be geared towards better health. That's why story number 3 made it this week. More money for YSU. Story number 4. Good clean energy jobs report. Ohio clean energy and clean transportation jobs grew by 4.6% in 2022. Now, according to a Mediator report published September 24th, Ohio ranked 3rd among 12 Midwest states. Now, the electric vehicle push was cited as the main factor. That's why story number 4 made it this week. Story number 5. Big money for Youngstown Warren Regional Airport. $8 million is the amount of money given to the Western Reserve Port Authority to resurface the Youngstown Warren Regional Airport in Vienna, according to a report published September 23rd by the Vindicator. Now, the money comes from the U.S. Department of Defense's Office of Local Defense Community Cooperation Program. Now, the money given out was the 5th highest amount out of the $100 million grant rationed to 17 projects. Now, according to the report, it will make military training exercises more efficient and safer. The story made it in because we're talking money, and more money needed for this area for more improvements. The story still developing. That's number 5 made it this week. Story number 6. Property values are on the rise. County Auditor Ralph Meacham has gone on the record reporting a statewide increase in housing market values. Now, it appears that 41 of Ohio's 88 counties are undergoing property value updates. One local report published September 23rd says that Youngstown homeowners will see an average residential increase of 58%. This could be due to less inventory and sales, as has been reported in consistent headlines. That's story number 6, almost made it to the top 2 this week. Big headline. Story number 7 and the top 2 local headlines and developing news stories that made it this week for one thing only. Because I have a passion myself of staying informed, and I have a passion to try to keep others informed. That's what I'm in here for. This, if you look on the screen, when you look at your guide program, it will say paid programming, because I and the business here at Method 8 is paying for this program for the greater good of the public, to keep people informed, especially people who are low income. Some people cannot afford cable. Some people have the regular channels. Some people have internet. So this is what this show is for, to give you the top 8 out of all the stories that make headlines to keep you informed. So let's get to these top 2 local stories. Story number 7. How will an executive order help East Palestine? East Palestine, if your country. Now, President Joe Biden has issued an executive order to protect people in East Palestine and nearby communities in a continued push by him and the state to hold Norfolk Southern Railroad accountable after a train derailment caused a fire that released hazardous chemicals into the air. Now, water and soil monitoring has been ongoing in the area. This was 1 mile from the Pennsylvania border, if you did not know that. Now, the report goes on to mention a number of steps being taken by the state and government agencies to protect and improve the health of East Palestine people and residents. Now, this story is still developing because the East Palestine people still have some gripes, and they still have some complaints, and they still have some grievances. Story number 7 also made to the top this week. Big. Story number 8 and the top local headline and developing news story that made it this week. Folks, there were times when I would be on the dance floor getting low. But there is times when I would grow up wondering what I would become or what I would do with my little bitty life. And this time, I choose to mediate, give you the top 8. So there were times, there was a time, and there is a time. Right now, I'm giving you the top 8 stories. Story number 8, and that's what I'm doing for you, for the greater good. Story number 8, it appears that Youngstown did not expect report card progress. They did not, according to this headline. Now, under new leadership, the ending of a 3-week strike. So they were under a new leadership, under the ending of a 3-week strike. And now the resignation, well, after that, it was the resignation of Justin Jennings. But Youngstown actually saw progress on its last state report card. Where that progress came from is the question. Did it come from Justin? Did it come from a 3-week strike? Did it come from new leadership? Only time will tell. Youngstown actually saw this progress and on their report cards. So in all of the back and forth and all the fighting, the key question now is, after somebody or some people got axed off of the bandwagon, the strides have been made to meet the state standards. So in that effort, some people fell off the wagon. Now, one local Vindicator report published September 2027 says that even though 59.3% of students were chronically absent in 2022 to 2023 school year, the report card has the number down more than 10% from the 70% rating the year before. Now, enrollment also jumped from 281 students in 2022 to 2023 school year to 457 this year at Chaffin, with 60 to 65 coming from outside of the Youngstown district. The story is still developing because the data is in that Youngstown is improving. So who caused that improvement, or what caused that improvement, will now be the question, because they want more improvement. Well, folks, those are our top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that I made this week. I'll be right back with the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories. So don't you go anywhere. You're in the Mediator with me, Brian West. I'll be right back.
Tune in and don't forget to subscribe to Method 8 Inc. YouTube channel. You can also watch free public entertainment. And don't forget to show some support by visiting www.method8inc.com by buying something, clicking something, watching something, or just reading something. You can also sponsor a program as well. That's www.method8inc.com. Buy stuff, watch stuff, or read stuff.
Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Folks, this week we are talking about the poor, the unfortunate, and the people who are hungry. I was driving in my car the other day, and I continue to see these people outside with their feed me signs. They're in the parking lot of stores. They're on the corners, and they need money. And when you see these things, time has evolved where people go through things. Some people are on drugs, some people are get lose their job, and some people are just unfortunate. And it's been on my mind lately because this is tough, especially when you're barely making ends meet yourself, and you see people hurting. I mean, it's scary. It's scary because you don't know if that could be you one day, and sometimes it makes you hesitant, with your pocketbook. But I'm not gonna lie to you. When you see it, it does do something to your stomach, and it be coming from poverty. A lot of people who have been in poverty know that feeling. I mean, as soon as you see the people, you just wake up, and it wakes you up. You could be going about your day thinking you got it made and talking about how big of a boss you are, but when you see somebody poor, it wakes you up. It's a real quick awakening. So this week, I hope we don't forget about the poor and hungry. I hope we don't forget about ourselves. You could be anybody. You could be just get your hit record. You could just get elected to office. You could be anybody. You could just get your raise on the job. You go ride around the city. Oh Lord, I just got my paycheck, and you happy. And you can see somebody broke and naked that you may have even known growing up in high school out on the street, folks, and it is the saddest feeling. Wakes you up. And it also teaches you a lesson in life, is that person could be you. And that's why when I'm seeing poor people, I'm not only praying, but I'm remembering what it's like to be hungry, and I'm trying to stay hungry for those people. There's a lot of people out there, folks, homeless people, my family members, dragging at coattails, begging for money, folks. This is serious. I even made a song about it. I'm hoping and praying that I too don't forget that there is a mercy that I can resist. I can't resist the mercy of God's blessings through me. So I'll work twice as hard so that blessing can be me. Oh, there's a blessing. Oh, there's a blessing. Let's not forget, folks. Let's waste no time. That's our message this week. Let's get to it. Story number 1. A rise in U.S. new vehicle sales makes headlines. One report by Reuters says that the U.S. new vehicle sales are set to rise in September from a year ago. Now, sales volume in the current months are set to touch nearly 1.3 million units. Now, that's up more than 13%. Now, this is despite rising interest rates and new vehicle loans and the most recent auto strike. Now, industry-wide inventory levels are up more than 63%. The story made it in due to the current news circulating about the auto industry strike. That's why story number 1 made it this week. Story number 2, the housing game. U.S. annual home prices continue to accelerate. According to a Reuters report, this report continues to stay in circulation because demand is high and supply of homes are low. Now, it appears that in a quest for gains, realtors were not prepared for the low-income demand. That's what it's looking like, because if they were, they wouldn't have been trying to make money, and they may have been building some houses for low-income people. The story is still developing. That's why story number 2 made it this week, because where there are no houses, there are no shelters, there are no places to live. So that means that if demand goes up, that people may need a home to stay, and right now demand is up, but nobody built low-income houses. Makes sense. That's why story number 2 made it this week. Story number 3, the strange economy. One report by Vox puts the economy on notice. The main talking point is that the economy is not in bad shape. Now, the article goes on to mention some good economic numbers, including a strong labor market, potential GDP growth, and the potential for inflation to slow. Now, the report mentions student loan payments, the Federal Reserve's interest rate plan, and the strikes as all playing a factor in keeping the economy weird. Simply put, if people could be unified and on the same page, things could possibly be better. The report is long and focuses on oil prices, mortgage rates, food stamps, Medicaid, inflation, and unemployment as key issues nagging progress. The story is still developing, so story number 3 made it this week. Story number 4, understanding what causes mass migration. Migrant stories continue to make headlines, but failure to report on what causes them could explain why they keep getting worse. Now, this is what happens when there are no cameras or journalists on the scene showing the reality of what people are facing when someone's native country is on the verge of either collapsing or is stricken by poverty or a dictatorship, causing natives to do anything to survive, including trying to go to other countries. Now, safe haven countries have become hotbeds for people seeking refuge and soaking up mass amounts of resources while also disrupting political influence. Folks, this even happens in Italy, it happens in Israel, it happens all over the world, not just America. Now, the continued migration flow has this story trending because it's changing policy and soaking up resources. This story is still developing, and at the moment, there seems to be no solution because people are still seeking refuge in other countries. That's story number 4 made it this week. Well, folks, those are our top 4 international headlines and developing news stories that I made this week. I'll be right back with the top 4, so don't you go anywhere. You're in the Mediator with me, Brian West. I'll be right back.
What does Method8Inc.com Media Center have that I need?
Small prints, event consulting, photography, business consulting, technical consulting, entertainment consulting, fundraising advice, event videography, movies, news, publishing, media, books, entertainment, acting, broadcasting, public relations, access to the visual and performing arts, ink and black ink refills, audio recording, graphic design, theater, minor computer and cell phone repair, and they're located at 5648 Market Street in Boardman, Ohio from 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. every Monday through Friday. The list goes on and on.
Method8Inc.com. Buy stuff, watch stuff, or read stuff.
Oh yeah! And yes, we are chipmunks.
Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 4 international headlines and developing news stories that made this week. Folks, everybody is talking money right now. They're talking about money that's going overseas and paying for foreign wars, why there's not enough housing, why there people are out on the street, why people have drug problems. Folks, there is a lot to be concerned about right now. I remember when GM came into town, and this was like the biggest job in town people could have. I mean, everybody was fighting for these jobs. It was a gold mine. People without even in high education wanted these jobs because they could pay for everything. I mean, these jobs are still in high demand. I mean, you got people want just a job just for the money. They don't read the mission statement, nothing. They just want to get on the floor of these jobs so they can pay their bills, get loans. And now we're starting to see reality set in, folks, where some of these companies are saying we cannot possibly pay everybody a decent wage, folks. The government has got involved. I mean, I remember it was so bad that people would get jealous, envious of people who had these jobs because they had all the money. And now it's starting to become ground level, where everybody may be on the ground level. There may not even be a middle class. There may just be poor and rich, folks. And it is causing a lot of apologies, a lot of different bonding together where we never seen this before, where people are starting to actually see reality. And that money, when you don't have it, you are back. And I'm living, breathing. I'm seeing it for myself. You're back on the ground level. And folks, if this keeps going on, folks, there could be more singing. And there could be more people back in the pews praying for a blessing from somewhere, from God. Maybe they could stop using drugs. They may not be able to afford it, Maybe they'll stop drinking. Maybe they'll even hit the gym. Maybe they'll find a new hobby. Maybe some may even open their own business if this keeps going on. Well, folks, we could be seeing equality. Let's get to it. Story number 5, the congressional map story. Speaking of equality, U.S. Supreme Court rejects Alabama's bid to use congressional maps with just one majority black district. This story made it in due to the controversy in several states regarding congressional redistricting. Now, this adds to a huge fire brewing between Republicans scratching their head about why a large number of black Americans continue to vote for Democrats while also complaining about their circumstances in their districts. Now, this story made it in because as Republicans continue to be vilified, that means looked at as the enemies, there is something deeper going on in American politics while also stating the obvious. The obvious is that something is happening. Some conspiracies are taking place, folks. Folks, this story is still developing. That's why story number 5 made it this week. And America may just need America. And America may just need unified. That's why story number 5 made it this week. Big head. Story number 6, the road to the strikes. After recent news about the UAW strike, here is a roadmap to follow. Under the Obama administration, there were auto bailouts, if we take it back. This was probably way back in 2008, I think early 2000s. Now, this included GM. Some factories shut down, especially in the local communities where I reside. Now, in the meantime, several plants had to shut down or restructure. I just mentioned that. Now, there were also things happening under the radar in show business, some of which only trickled into mainstream news sometimes in regards to contract disputes. Now, this was all around about 2008, early 2000s, where now we are now in 2023, and even though small deals have been made, politicians have been sucked into these battles due to laws like right to work and the union ties to the Democratic Party. Now, there are reports in circulation on syndicated radio showing that they're even stating the obvious that Obama gave Elon Musk's company a large sum loan to enhance the electric vehicle market while also enforcing greener energy. So there's this ripple effect. The ripple effect is what we now see. And while deals are being made, still being made, well, they were even being made then, the ripple effect is what we see now in present time. The story is still developing because a large number of investors are involved in these talks, disputes, deals, and union contracts. So story number 6 almost made to the top 2 this week. Big headline. Story number 7 and the top 2 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Folks, yes, I have an independent community-run corporation. I fund it. I do the legwork. I bring in people from the community. And this is what I've done since of my time of service. This is what I feel obligated to do. The news has been important to me. It has been something that almost feels like that's what I was born to do, to write. I've been writing and trying to publish books for years as a child. So this is where the road has led me. This is where all my little bitty money has led me to this point. This is all I have left to do. I've tried a lot of things, tried marriage, tried playing basketball, even tried football and track. But this seems to be what keeps me alive. And if you talk to any VA rep, they'll tell a veteran, you find something to keep you busy so you can stay healthy, Brian. Story number 7. The U.S. credit rating news. Axios has a piece explaining why America is at risk of losing its last AAA credit rating. Now, the piece goes on explaining how the U.S. shutdowns continues to be the thorn causing these problems. Now, the article also mentions missed payments as a factor. The piece goes on to cite the obvious when it comes to how the U.S. government has lost control of its own spending. This could affect everyone on the U.S. money train, including me, folks. The story is still developing. That's story number 7, almost made to the top this week. Big video. Story number 8 in the top international headline and developing news story that made this week, folks. Yes, I am a product of the government I served. I was postal union, so I've seen these things happen with my very own eyes. I also have a passion for news. The news has kept me going. It has kept me active. It has kept me busy. I have a passion for this. I have nothing else really to do that keeps me going. And I don't seem to preach the gospel of divisiveness. I am an African American, but I do know that we need unity as a country right now, because there are things happening. And being a product, swearing on oath to serve and protect the Constitution, I see value in that, and I do seem to feel everybody's pain. I see what's happening, but I can say for now that we do need unity. We need, no matter which political party you are in, folks, you have to stay informed, because there is a lot at stake right now. I mean, I am telling you from God's given will, because money is drying up. Things are happening on a global scale, and the American way, when you're talking about a representative republic and a representative democracy, needs to be what's on people's mind. I don't care what you believe, but try to protect a place where people can come, do business, vote, get a job, have a voice. That's something special in that, folks. Story number 8. I don't even care which God you believe in, folks. There's something special about freedom. Story number 8. Another government shutdown to worry about, folks. 1 million military members are at risk of having to go without a paycheck. This is while many of America's top enemies will still be in operation. Now, while the American people fight over so many petty things, these petty concerns, lawmakers are pressured to reach a deal, or there will be a lot of eyes away from their posts in times of global unrest. That means there will be a lot of people who are not getting paid to be on watch. Some of these people may not even be on watch. And that means that we may be vulnerable. Now, this is making this a top story, because right now, our focus needs to be on the betterment and the greater good of this country. Well, folks, those are our top 8 local and international headlines and developing news stories that made news this week. I hope you got something out of today's program. I always get something out of the research. As usual, I'd like to thank all the news outlets, the journalists, the people on the front lines. You deserve all the credit. I'm just a mediator, the man in the middle, navigating your news stories just to keep people informed. I've had to stay on both sides, the right and the left. I've had to see it from both angles. I had to listen. And on top of that, I have to sacrifice my own will as a citizen, my own religion, my own faith, just for the greater good. Well, folks, I'm out of here. I'll be back next week looking through over 200 or more stories just to keep you informed. If you want to show us some support here at Method 8, it does not take much. All you have to do is visit the website on the screen, buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program, or visit the store at 5648 Market Street in Boreman or Youngstown, Ohio, and buy something to the store, see my smiling face, shake my hand, do whatever you want. Well, folks, I am out of here. I'll be back next week. Thank you for tuning into The Mediator with me, Brian West. I'm stumbling on my words, but I got you. Peace.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.